Cathy McLeish here, and I want to talk about alcoholism, but today I want to specifically talk about interventions. And if you are thinking about an intervention, sometimes I feel my videos talk a lot more about the problem and not so much about the solution. So if you have a loved one and you are dealing with alcoholism on a daily basis, or if it is interfering with your sanity, your peace of mind, your finances, if that is the case and you really are thinking, what can I do outside of trying to control the whole situation, there is a possibility of doing an intervention with an alcoholic that needs to maybe have a wake-up call, have the people that love that person, that are in that person's life, come to the table and talk about what is going on. Now, the first thing I will say is I'm Cathy McLeish. I'm 37 years sober. Got sober when I was 27. I've worked with a lot of people. A lot of people have worked with me. I've been a part of several interventions, and I am not an intervention specialist. So what I'm doing is I'm just giving you some food for thought. And if you want to do an intervention, this is not a play-by-play intervention booklet. This is some information that may lead you to an intervention specialist or to a therapist that is certified with alcohol therapy, recovery therapy, addiction therapy, someone that would actually orchestrate an intervention with your loved one or your coworker, or however you are connected to this person that has a problem with alcohol. So why would you have an intervention? One is it gets to a point sometimes where you need to draw boundaries, you need to get a person out of your house, you need them to be living on their own, working for themselves, taking care of themselves. Maybe there has been some kind of a legal consequence, and so in order for this person to stay out of jail or prison, something needs to happen. Oftentimes there is something a little bit extreme that needs to be taken care of, and so we're going to all get together and we're going to try to talk to this person with the hope that they will get help. So if that is the case, then the intervention would look something like this. You would get 6 or 8 people that are involved in the person's life. Those people can be family members, but they also should be a variety of maybe family, work, friends, that kind of thing, so that you have information coming from different sources so that I, as an alcoholic, can hear that more than one person, more than just my family that's kind of angry with me anyways, thinks that I may have a problem. Maybe I need to hear that my boss is thinking about letting me go. Maybe I need to hear that my friend hasn't talked to me about it, but they're really concerned about me. So having a variety of people that are asked and then they say yes. You cannot force anyone to do an intervention. People sometimes will say, no, I don't want that between me and my friend if they get on the other side, if they stop drinking, or if they don't stop drinking. So it has to be an invitation that people are allowed to accept or decline. And you do not give the alcoholic an invitation. Unfortunately, what you have to do is you actually want to get your alcoholic when they haven't been drinking, maybe early in the morning, and you want to bring them to a neutral spot. You don't want to bring them, you don't want to do it in their home. You maybe don't want to do it in the family home, someplace where there's memories and you're going to be there next week again celebrating something. You want to do it in a neutral space if possible. And you want to bring that person there and actually they do not know what is coming. And that isn't to be deceptive, that isn't to be mean. It is, one, to get them there, and 2, to possibly get them there without alcohol in their system. Another good point would be if something catastrophic has happened, that's a good time for an intervention. If they've spent the night in jail and you were thinking about, or you had an intervention in place, maybe that's time to orchestrate it right after that when they're thinking, maybe I do have a problem, before they get that next 6-pack in them. So the intervention is something that you're going to plan. You're going to ask somebody that has a skill level that could, maybe be very attentive to whether or not the person has anxiety if the person, they would be knowledgeable if the person had any mental illness, depression, suicidal tendencies. It isn't the type of a situation where you're going to just tell the person what to do and then they're going to do it. It's the type of a situation where you're going to tell this person how you feel about their drinking, how it is affecting your life, and the boundaries that you're going to set in place, whether or not they stop. You also are going to interject the idea that you want them to maybe seek out this or that type of therapy or recovery treatment, maybe to go away to treatment, maybe to do outpatient therapy, maybe to go to a recovery home. And you've already researched those different suggestions you're going to make so that maybe insurance does cover it, or they do have a bed at that place. So when you are throwing out these ideas for the alcoholic that may actually give you a light of hope, I would consider that. Then you already have a verified solution, an option for them, maybe 2, maybe 3, that they could consider doing immediately. So you have this intervention. How long does it take? Maybe a couple hours at the most. It depends on how many people you have. The person, I would not be allowed to talk. I would not be allowed to argue every point that somebody else makes. I would be asked to listen. It would be my turn to listen. And the people that I have been affecting with my drinking have already prepared a page, maybe a page and a half at the most, of the facts of how my alcoholism, how my drinking, how my not showing up has affected them and what they are going to have to do to protect themselves in the future. And when I hear those things from 6 or 8 different individuals, I realize that this is a problem and it's out in the open. A big problem for alcoholics is denial. And they want to think because people aren't talking about the consequences of their drinking that nobody's noticing. And that is very rarely the truth. So when you have an intervention, you actually have this alcoholic that wants to think nobody's seeing their drinking. And they're hearing over and over again, I see you, I see what you're doing to yourself, and I'm concerned about the outcome and whether or not you get treatment. We'd love for you to get help. We'll support you if you get help. But if you don't, these are the things that I'm putting in place. You will no longer live in my basement. You will no longer be able to work at the family business if you're going to come to work drunk. You will no longer be able to drive my vehicle under the influence. You will no longer be able to take the kids on your weekend because I have no idea if you're drinking or not drinking. And those consequences are things that we have to stick to. If you set in place these new consequences, if I continue to drink, you have to follow through. I have to know that if I choose to keep drinking, my life as I know it is going to change. People are aware and people are going to take different steps. So ideally, an intervention is not an emotional, screaming, crying thing. It can be very emotional, but ideally it would be presenting the facts. You didn't show up for my graduation. I didn't know where you were when you didn't come home for 2 nights. That was very scary for me. I called the hospitals. When we tell the facts to the alcoholic, even if we have to practice ahead of time, ideally we stay in control without anger, and yet we can be tearful. We can share emotions. The alcoholic needs to see and feel the damage that they are doing. But the specialist is there. The intervention specialist is there to kind of regulate how much of that happens and what the reaction the alcoholic is having to that, what reaction they're having, so that they know this person is going to remain safe, is not going to do anything extreme. And they are there kind of like as a cushion between the family, the friends, the work people, and the alcoholic, so that you have the outcome. the successful outcome that you want. Now, what is a successful outcome? It would actually just be a step forward. The alcoholic knows that everybody's on the same page, that things are not going to go on as they have been. They're not going to keep getting away with what they've been getting away with, taking advantage of people, taking risks at the expense of other people. They're not going to be able to keep practicing their disease and having everyone else pay the price. People are setting up boundaries, they're setting up stipulations, and things are going to be different. So maybe that is the best outcome. Ideally, you have these things in place. If the alcoholic says, I will go to treatment, I hear you all, and you can take me to treatment now. That would be the perfect scenario. And if that happens, that would be awesome. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't mean the intervention was a failure. It means it was a step in the right direction. All of the people that are in the life of this person that is suffering from the addiction are now on the same page. They can hold each other accountable, and they can also hold the practicing alcoholic accountable. So an intervention can be a very helpful tool. It can make you feel like you've done something to stand up for yourself. You've done something to put a protection out there for the alcoholic if they choose to say yes. The protection of getting them from practicing their disease to getting into recovery. You've opened that door of that possibility. So if I just had to wrap it up and go back to a few points, one is I am not a professional. And these ideas are just to give you some hope for what you could do in order to move forward, at least to move forward in what you are doing for yourself, to protect yourself, to stand up for yourself, and to let the alcoholic know that you have boundaries and that you are taking a stand even if they don't want to take action. You are going to take action to protect yourself from the disease of alcoholism. So that intervention specialist, that therapist that is certified on alcoholism and addiction recovery, that person that you are going to bring to the table that is going to keep things safe is paramount. And then asking the people that are involved in your alcoholic's life to do this for the alcoholic, but to do it because they want to do it, not because you're pressuring them. And then to bring that alcoholic to the table with those people and share the reality, the truth about what alcoholism is doing in your lives. So, investigate intervention. It's a route you think you might want to take. And again, thank you for just caring enough about the alcoholic to see if there are ways that you can help to get them on track. But more importantly, thank you for caring enough about yourself that you would do something like this to take care of yourself, whether or not the alcoholic is ready to ask for help. Cathy McLeish, just trying to share a little more information about alcoholism so that we can be as healthy as we can when we have an alcoholic affecting our life. Thank you.